Well, good evening, everyone. How are we tonight? Woohoo, indeed. Hey, Duke. I'm so glad y'all are here. Hi, I'm Mitchell Greco. I'm an associate artistic director here at Stages, and I'm so glad y'all are here for tonight's Table to Stage, especially against the rodeo and everything. Y'all are here, and I love that. Thank you, thank you. A couple of things before we get started. If this is your first time to Stages, welcome. We're so glad to have you. We opened this building in 2020, in January of 2020, which was impeccable timing. And we are so happy to be open and welcoming folks back in. We have 2 shows going on right now. If this room feels like you're in Miami, that's for a reason. This is Last in Spanish. This is the set for Last in Spanish. Every other day of the week, that show is playing. So come on back with your friends. It's a wonderful, lighthearted comedy set in the art world of Art Basel in Miami. And next door in our other theater, we have 3 theaters here. In our second theater, we have Sisters Irish Catechism, which is an interactive adult catechism class. If you haven't experienced one yet, I fully encourage you to come. You might end up in a parade, I'm not sure, but it's very fun. It's for everyone. Come on and have some fun with us. A couple things before we get started. A special thank you to our sponsors, Open Table, Elijah, Craig, Deep Eddy, and C&T Design and Equipment. Thank you all so much for supporting this incredible series in our inaugural season. It couldn't happen without y'all, so thank you so much. One other housekeeping thing. So, listen. There are 2 acts. The first act, it's like inside the actor's studio, but for chefs. For the second half, you'll be able to submit questions via the Open Table app. There's a QR code in your programs, as well as a little handouts at the that you probably got at the ticket pickup. In order to do that, you must log into the Wi-Fi, the Stages Wi-Fi. It's free. I think it's called Stages Guest. You must be logged into the entire time to get through, because the radio waves, I don't know how it works, but they don't come in here. If you don't get a response in here, wait until intermission and try it again in the lobby, because we want to make sure that we get your questions in for them to answer in the second part. Okay? Log on to Wi-Fi, submit questions, and have fun. I think that's everything. Thank you all so much again, and without any further ado, please welcome to the stage my friend and yours, Chris Shepard.
It's always so weird. What's happening? Oh, man. Hi, thank you very much. That was very nice. So, Table to Stage. Thanks for coming out. Tonight is very special personally for me. We get to talk to one of my dear friends. We've known each other for a long time, and so let's go ahead and do this. Can you start the music first? Because that's what I'm talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Grueneberg. And so, yeah, it's kind of weird. We got a little sweater thing going on, and I told you all last week, bring your slippers.
Here by the fire.
So there's a reason behind this. It sounds weird, I know, but I'm gonna kick these off. Mr. Rogers the shit out of this. Why? Because why not? But we are fortunate enough that we travel a lot together.
I'm so comfortable already.
We got blankies, a fireplace. Thank you, Mitchell, for getting the fireplace. That's heavy. That's going to be warm.
I'll hold on to it.
You like that? We got footstools. This is awesome.
She's got a little...
You got a teeny over there?
Yes.
Nice.
A little Deep Eddy teeny.
I got my whiskey. About right. Elijah Craig. Yep, that's perfect. Whiskey, ice. So, we are fortunate that we get to hang out a lot. And it's generally, there's a fireplace, there's sandals or slippers. Like I know, I never used to travel with slippers. But if we're going anywhere with you and Jamie,
They're slippers.
Slippers are a must. These are actually new. You like these?
Those are great.
They look exactly like the other ones. They're just not red.
Anytime you can get fur-lined anything, it's a good thing. No? Yeah? Well, not in Houston, but in Chicago.
No. I think wherever you're at, you need fur-lined slippers. If you're not, you got a flip-flop if it's not a fur-lined slipper.
Oh, that might be a next market.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm just happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here, Chris.
So we're going to get into everything Sarah.
Uh-oh.
It's not a bad thing.
Well, he's known me for a really long time, and so I'm just
I would
I'm
say
a little
that
terrified.
Why would you be terrified? It's you and me. Like, and quite frankly, we've known each other pretty much our entire careers. I mean, I hadn't been working too long in that business when I met you. When I started thinking about it. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
When you walked in the door, I thought you were like a god, so I had no idea you could have fooled me.
So,
Did y'all know he had a ponytail? Like a full-on ponytail? And I'm not trying to start this like that, but...
Hold up. That's true. I keep threatening my wife with it again, too. I'm like, I can still grow hair. Let me rock it.
Yeah.
She's like, no, absolutely not. Maybe. What do you think? Can I go back to it?
I don't
It was long.
You used to hide it under the toque, so now you'd have to wear a toque again. I don't think you want to wear a toque.
You know, I think there was that time when people couldn't go to the barber shop and they just let their hair grow long. I think I should have done it then.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
You know, the summer of 20
yeah.
should have been like the
long
summer
hair.
of hair growth.
You could have had a full
No.
ZZ top.
The whole beard I can't do.
No?
No. I let it go for like a week and a half and then I get really itchy and it freaks me out. It goes away. It's about as long as it gets, I think.
It's actually much longer than I thought it would. Like,
Well, you know,
it looks good.
Lindsay likes it.
That's good.
I think. I don't know. Mm-hmm. She's like, what do you think? She's like, yeah, it looks great. You know, that works.
I like it whenever you can see a little silver, like a little salt and pepper.
Well, give me like 2 days. It's all salt and pepper. That thing is
see it
all
in the
gray.
light. It looks so good. And Jamie started to go a little silver here. It's cute.
I go full gray.
It's cute.
Not a gray hair on my head. 3 pieces of hair on my face. They're all gray. Doesn't work. All right. So you grew up here.
I did.
You're a Texas girl.
Born and raised. Yes.
Born and raised.
Yes. Thank you.
Where at?
Well, southwest side of town, Stafford, followed by Sugar Land.
And that's, I mean, your mom still lives out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still lives. Love having you.
I thank you. Highway 59, man, just road angel. Like, take it from Brennan to Sugar Land, Williams Chase exit. You're there.
So you grew up in Sugar Land, went to school out there.
Well, I actually went to I went to a private school in Westbury, actually.
Okay.
I believe that's like Fondren area, Bel Air.
No clue.
Okay. Yeah, it was great. It was a great school. It was a private school. And then my mom put me in public school in 6th grade at Dulles.
Okay.
So it was a little bit of a change up there.
Yeah. High school? Not your jam?
It was not my jam.
I think that's a lot of people.
I did good when I really tried, and then I decided, I don't like this.
Well, I sucked at it. I was one of the worst students. I don't know. I went an extra semester. I liked
High
it so
school's
much.
hard. It doesn't work for every personality. It doesn't work for every kid. And unfortunately, it's built to work for everyone. And there's a few of us that it just doesn't click.
Well, and I think that's okay, too, to understand that, right?
Yeah.
And I wish I would have understood that then, that, like, that's not where my brain was leading me to. You know, I think we talked about it if you guys were here last week. I mean, I got kicked out of Tulsa Junior College. And that shit doesn't happen.
I got kicked out of thespians. That doesn't happen either.
So if your kids want to be cooks,
Yeah. They have to get kicked out of something.
just understand where that's happening. And why? Yeah, I mean, but that's all right because, you went to culinary school at what? How old were you?
So it was.
How did that work out for you?
So I decided that I wasn't going to finish high school.
Yeah.
And I quit my junior year and studied hard and got my GED.
So that's a big decision.
It was, and it was a hard decision for my mom and me and my aunt and my family. It was because they knew I was a bright girl. They knew I was smart.
Yeah.
But, it just wasn't working. So I saw an ad for the Art Institute of Houston Culinary Arts. And at the time, I'd been cooking for friends at the house for a long time. Like, I started cooking at 12, really probably 8, but cooking full things.
What were you making?
Well, the first thing I made was mac and cheese.
Hell yeah, it was.
And chicken fried steak cutlets with my family in the cast iron.
At 12, I would have loved that.
Yeah.
At 52, I would still love that.
And then I got into.
Damn right, Texas girl.
Then I got into making things that I liked at restaurants that I realized you could really maybe try to make. So I didn't grow up with an Italian background, but I liked to eat lasagna at a restaurant. And so I would make these big, giant pans of lasagna, and we would eat them for a week and a half. And so I loved to cook.
I think lasagna, that's acceptable.
Well, also King Ranch chicken, that's a form of lasagna, but with tortillas and chicken and cheese.
Texas lasagna.
Yeah.
Trying to wrap my head around that, and I totally agree with it. I do. But then that falls in, I'm going to ask just a random question. Do all casseroles, is lasagna basically a casserole?
I think in Italian culture, absolutely.
Right? Because that's how I can classify that.
It is one of the most comfort food dishes in Italy. It's a great lasagna. And it's unlike our lasagnas here in a way.
Yeah.
They use a lot of them use fresh pasta. So the pasta and the fillings, I know we're going to talk a lot about Italy, I'm sure, but those kind of meld together. We're still on Sugarlands and lasagnas.
I kind of wish I would have ordered the lasagna today.
Oh, what lasagna? Oh, yeah.
We went to the OG Carrabba's.
I don't know if we'd be sitting here if we had the lasagna.
I'd be passed out. You're right. That's probably a good move we didn't do that. So you decided to go to culinary school.
I did. So basically my junior year, I didn't finish my junior year. I got my GED that summer, and then that September I was enrolled in culinary art school. So basically what would have been the beginning of my senior year was the beginning of culinary art school.
And I think that some people would look at that and say, man, she didn't make it through high school. But you know what? You went right in there. I'd call that driven.
Yeah, I skipped a full year.
I call that driven.
Thank you. It saved my life.
That's awesome.
It really
culinary
did.
school saved my life.
Yeah.
100%. Being a dishwasher at a sushi bar in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well,
How was that?
a lot of eel pots. You ever screw up an eel pot? That's just gross, man. That shit doesn't come out. It's like sugar and
Unagi
collagen.
just burnt everywhere.
Just slow simmered for a week.
And they didn't care. They just chucked
There
it
you go.
in the...
No, I enjoyed it. I really did. You know what? I found a purpose.
Yeah.
I found purpose in me, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't going to biology class, or I'll be honest with you, that's the last computer class I took was in '93. MS-DOS, I think it was.
Yeah. But we crushed Oregon Trail, didn't we?
That wasn't for me. And going to culinary school, and I went to the same school
Yes.
that you did. I came here to go to school, and you know what? I look back on it now, and funny story.
Okay.
I'm gonna break. Y'all okay? You don't really have a choice in it. It's a cool story though. I worked, and then we'll go back to you.
Okay.
My bad. Sometimes it happens this way.
I love that.
But it was one of the most meaningful things to me, and I think this is a very telling tale of decisions that you make when you're younger, or that if you guys have kids, that your kids are going to make, right? And you're going to be like, what the hell are you doing? Well, sometimes they're the right decisions, right? I guarantee my parents looked at me like, hey, he's doing what he loves, we'll figure it out, he'll be okay, and they're very supportive on that aspect. And the guy that gave me an opportunity washing dishes in his sushi bar was the same person that told me to go to culinary school, right? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And he's like, where do they teach you to cook?
Not scrub
What
pot.
are you doing? You've learned what you can in the kitchen, you've learned how to break down chickens, and so go do this. And then back in 17, 18, probably 18, I get a message from him, from Nobu. He had his family down in Galveston on vacation, and he wanted to come see what I was doing, what I was up to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so he came in, and we had dinner at he had dinner at one of the restaurants at 1/5, and then just blown away. And then I was like, no, I'm going to take you to other spots. Put him in the car and drove him around, and every one of my staff, all my managers, every restaurant that they walked up to him and said, thank you so much for telling Chris to go do this, because now he's given us the opportunity to be who we are. Full tears.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already like, this is going to be a tough one.
It was, and like, he's just like the most emotional, it was cool. And it meant the world to me for him to be able to see what chance he gave me to be who I could be.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And you've gotten to do that with a lot of...
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that. There we go.
Yeah.
So what was your first restaurant job? It's kind of...
Well, I think we had one common person.
Yeah.
Joe Bonaparte.
I still do.
And so Chef Joe Bonaparte was the chef at our institute that ran the restaurant. So, like, you would go through all your classes, learn how to make stock and cut vegetables.
He was my skills class. He was my very first teacher.
Like, the restaurant class.
Yeah. I had Chef Mattson.
Oh, yeah.
He's tough, but man, he was good. I still like that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
But Bonaparte was my skills teacher. I'll never forget, because it's like you're trying to learn how to make holidays. He's like, no, I'm not eating that. He's like, that's gray. I don't want that. No, just go do it again, will you, please? And it was like,
he's a great teacher, and he still teaches to this day.
He does. He asked me to come do a dinner out there in South Carolina.
We should do a dinner together. Yeah.
All right, let's set that up.
All right.
That seems like an easy.
This is how he started this, was saying we travel together a lot because.
Yeah, we try to do cool shit. Like at this point we can do cool
awesome.
things. Yeah, let's go do a dinner with him. It wouldn't even, you know what? In 2014, when I won the beard, he came.
Wow.
He came to the Beard Awards. I didn't know. And then all of a sudden I saw him.
I saw him at a few Beard Awards, and I did see him then.
Yeah.
In New York.
I think when his students are up, he goes.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was like, you're here? And he's like, yeah. Why would that be? And it's just like, meaningful. All right, so you had Bonaparte.
Yeah, and then I was in that one class where you had to follow around, or you had to cook different restaurant chefs, like famous chefs' dishes. So like Charlie Palmer was a class, and and I think it was that class that I met you.
Yep. How'd that work out? I went looking for students to come work.
So I think Brennan had sent you there to scour the talent.
Yeah, they did. Well, they were like, we need some cooks. I was like, I'm gonna go back to the place I graduated and find some people.
So this was when his ponytail was down, and
like what's that? He got hit in the face with a duck. I can't believe it's not Butter Guy, Fabio. Just rocking the hair.
100%.
We worked out together,
No, I remember cargo shorts, so it's a
little different.
So it was cargo shorts and flip flops. I'm pretty sure.
Not much has changed.
And like a Megadeth T-shirt.
Probably, not much has changed.
And a full ponytail coming down and glasses.
I mean, outside the ponytail, yeah. I think I need Lindsay. I need a Megadeth shirt. Remind me.
And he walked in the classroom and he goes, "Which one of you want a job?" And he looked around and I raised my hand. "Which one of you want a job?"
Anyone but you.
I still had my hand up. Now which one of you really wants a job? Okay, fine. You. Okay.
It's like, the over-anxious, zealous person is like, oh, choose me. And you're like, that's going to be a problem.
I was fangirling, I'm sure. Like, I didn't really know who you were, but I knew you were cool. And I knew what Brennan's was, and you looked like a person. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that life puts you in places with people that are supposed to help you on a little nudge, right?
I agree with that.
And
it took me 3 times to get a job at Brennan's.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
3 times, yeah. Oh, shit. It's not, I mean, come on.
Yeah, but we don't fast forward that stuff if you want.
I mean,
But yeah, I was really excited, and I remember looking at you, and a lot of stuff is cloudy, right? Like the older you get, like the memories aren't as strong.
Yeah.
But like meeting you that first day in class is strong for me because it was like a point. And I talk to my cooks now about corners and how like so many of them want to have like, you know, growth immediately, but they gotta like get to a point to turn.
Yeah.
And meeting you, I knew was going to be one of my corners. I mean, I didn't really know, but now looking back, I think I knew that you were going to be like the shepherd that
Well played.
that I needed.
That was good.
In my career. I just had a feeling.
I mean, you did great.
Thank you.
I mean, at first I wasn't real sure.
Oh, it was scary.
Yeah. Well, 'cause there was you tell it better. But there's the, you know, I don't know if I had a cell phone even then. Probably.
No, you gave me the number to the office phone and said call at 3 p.m.
The kitchen phone, yeah. Kitchen
At 3
line.
p.m. no one answers the phone in a kitchen.
Zero chance in hell.
Because everyone's either at a meeting, eating staff meal, or going over the specials, or like
Daytime's
prepping like their
leaving,
life is
nighttime's
going to
getting
end. Exactly.
Yeah, 3 o'clock, not a good time to call.
I don't know why I drove up there, but I called like several days in a row, and then I thought, I'm just going to drive up there. So
I'm such a dick.
I got in my Honda Accord.
Oh, yeah, I remember that little thing.
Got on, you know, Sky Angel of 59, getting down there.
What were you listening to?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Was it Stevie?
No, Stevie's like a later
Okay,
love.
that's a later in life.
A later love. But Brennan's had this big, like kind of ominous, heavy door that had like a fan that it blows a ton of air when you open it, so flies don't come in.
It says something like on the back outside, if you're not
don't come in if you're not.
If you're not going to be proud, don't walk through the door.
Correct. And so I was like,
it's still up there too.
I was like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of signs like that.
And I opened the door, and I think you were right there.
It was. And
I
it
was like, hi, remember me?
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't that I didn't want to hire you.
It's fine. I don't blame you. I wouldn't have wanted to hire me either.
No, I just, you know.
But then Randy looked at you and goes, she's yours.
Yep.
And so then you took me under your wing.
Damn
after
right.
I could, like, prove myself.
And I'll be very frank about this, too.
Or just be okay making a lot of mistakes and not giving up is really the answer.
There's something about young cooks when they come in the door and you're not really sure what you're going to get, right? And I'll be honest with you. I was a young cook in a position of, like, as being like a newly appointed sous chef. And, you know, that place would have a lot of people come through it.
I'm sure it was
a lot of
beast.
It was. And Brennan's when was that? Early
2001.
2001, yeah.
Yeah.
That place was just so busy.
That's 23 years ago.
And so many cooks. Like I remember, man, really good cooks. And you came in, and I was like, all right. She went through me not answering the phone. I went up there. She came up there, and then she showed up. And let's see how this goes. And you had a desire that most people don't. You knew you were going to fail at some things, and you were okay with it.
Oh, yeah, I knew
and
I
you
was
pushed through it. Some of those we'll talk about.
Yeah. 86 Creole.
No, I've never seen somebody so excited at 86 something in their life, which we'll talk about that too. But you came in and you just put your head down and you did it.
Yeah.
And there was something about you that just said, you wanted more. You always want more. You wanted the knowledge.
I was blown away by the kitchen.
Yeah.
To see a kitchen is like theater. I mean, I loved theater. My mom would take me to the Alley Theater growing up. I loved going to shows. And being in a thespian in high school, and I loved it. And so I know, it's ridiculous.
I'm a thespian.
Hey.
I don't even know what that means.
It means that you love live theater and that you work the show.
So
like
yeah,
this
I guess
whole
like
team
we are right now, right?
Yep, we're all thespians
Okay,
right
perfect.
now. Yeah, guess what? You're a thespian. So.
That makes way more sense.
We have to get Chris a thespian leather jacket, I think, after the end of these.
I'll take that. I'll wear a leather jacket.
It was great. Anyways, yes. So the kitchen is like orchestrating a theater show.
100%.
People sit down, they order their food, they order their drinks, things arrive. It's, what people think of how they look at their meal with great service, or, all of it has a part, every single person. And so every person in the restaurant, and you know this as well as I do, but it was fascinating for me to see so much chaos that was semi-organized.
Yeah.
Because it's not all organized.
Hell no, it's not.
But I also wasn't a big sports person. Which I often wonder. I kind of wish maybe I was when I was younger, but I like to swim. But I think cooking is also athletic. So when you would just cook all night, you had to learn those muscles. You had to build that muscle. You had to build the dance. You had to build the memory. You had to learn how to listen to what was happening, see what's happening, smell. You're using all your senses. It really was, I think, more physical than I think a lot of people give credit to cooking. I mean, everyone goes, "Oh, you're on your feet." That's not what's hard.
That's a very small part of it, I think. Because it's not only physically tiring, but it's emotionally and mentally tiring, and it pulls on all your senses, and will really, by the end of the night, you could just go home and
not want to talk to anyone.
Oh, yeah. Nobody.
But then you get up the next day and you're like, yes, what broccoli's coming in, what crab meat, and then you get
it's literally one of the only things that's so difficult, but you can't wait to get back to it constantly.
Correct, yeah. And so that's, I think, what's really key. That's what Brennan's was. And I remember seeing people in front of me in the hierarchy, right, of who was going to move to the next station, I think I could pass that person.
Yeah.
But I didn't try to. But I was like, I think if I just really try to do
because if you do, then it's a little bit that person's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But you know what? That's okay, too, because either work your ass off or don't.
I think it's better to be underestimated your whole career and show up on top. And I think everyone underestimated me in almost every kitchen I've walked into. And it happens. And it's okay. Because then I go, yeah, taste this lasagna. And they're you know what I mean? It's good. Because then you really give yourself, you can't fail, right?
No.
You can't fail worse than what people think about you. So you come in and you're like, I'm just going to keep my head down and try and do this.
Well, a good swift uppercut to people is always great. Not physically, right? Don't take that out of context, but where they didn't see it coming, and all of a sudden it's wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's eye-opening to a lot of people.
And that's what happened at Brennan's. I ended up passing up a lot of people.
It's all right, I did too.
Yeah.
I came in that way, and there was a lot of expectations, and, well, you know what? Did better than they thought.
But then so my favorite part of cooking at Brennan's was working the back line. And that
was my favorite station.
You were wine personing then.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go out and sell these bottles of wine and come back and be like, we got to do this and we got to do that. And you were choreographing little mini specials for people based on the wine that you had sold them. And I was working that station. So the next thing I know, there's curry paste on the station. There's coconut milk. There's things that were not Brennan's that I had never tasted before.
Yeah.
And it was so fun.
I think Alex always, and Carl said it best, is there's the sandbox that people play in, and then I will stand outside of that and throw sand at them.
Is that what they told you? That's 100% what you did.
Hey, you're just going to do your own shit. I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
But you had fun.
You know what I learned? Because I learned from Mark Hawley, right, and Carl, but Mark was the one that, and you didn't, Mark was gone.
Mark was gone, but the stories of that kitchen and that marine-style kitchen, I didn't work in it, but I heard it was really hard.
Man, there was one day.
I don't know if I would have lasted in that kitchen.
Yeah, you would have. Absolutely, you would have.
I don't know.
Because it wasn't negativity to be negative, right? He called me 1 for 100. which meant every 100 dishes that I would come up with, one was good.
And that's not negative.
All of a sudden, I'm 5 for 100, or what wasn't said is that I would come up with something, and then a week later he'd be like, "So I got an idea. We're gonna put this on the menu," and I was like, "So that's actually like I'm 2 now," but I couldn't say anything. But he took me in the cooler one day, and Brennan's. So the way Brennan's kitchen is broken up, right, back in the day, was, and I started in the old kitchen, was very militant, very like.
That's the kitchen I'm talking about. I didn't work in the old kitchen.
Yeah, the old kitchen
was like rough.
It was hard, and as a young cook, man, there's a lot of tears and a lot of questioning of what I could do. Because
I cried like at the drop of a hat.
Yeah,
I cried when lobsters came out. Like
yeah,
it was,
true.
yeah, I was a big cry.
And I'm like, what? We only got 80 to kill. Come on, let's go. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. Putting live crawfish in the mixer. It was kind of creepy, but like it is what it is. They were delicious in stock.
Everyone likes the bisque.
Yeah, everyone likes bisque until you know what it is. Just saying, live crawfish went in to the mixer, the buffalo chopper, basically.
Yeah, not a mixer, a
buffalo chopper. They didn't make it through the little blades.
A rotating bowl that has a food processor blade in it that spins.
And they would.
No!
Okay. Yeah. Anyway. It's probably like look. If you can't, you have to eat it at some point. It works out. But you start off in garde-manger or pantry.
Pantry.
And then you work in the hot apps.
Pantry, where you make dressings in 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah.
That was the recipe.
Because you're going to do 400 that night.
5-gallon bucket.
Yeah. I learned how to prep really well there.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it saved my cooks years later. That it was like, I would tell every cook, look, give me one thing that you don't want to do and I'll knock it out for you. And then they're like,
I'm going to go tell my chefs that right now.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. I loved it because they'd be like thinking to themselves, because cooks always underestimate
everything. They don't
everything.
know what they're in the weeds and they're like, well, I don't know if I can give you.
And they're like, I only need 2 quarts, and I'm like, here's 2 gallons. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is what you're going to need for tonight. Like, I already know you're going to be. I'm going to have to do this shit again. So let's just do it. And they're like, how did you get all that done? I was like, it's easy.
You ask Connie.
Be a good prep cook? Yeah, ask Connie. Yeah. Connie's one of our loves of our lives. And then after garde-manger, you go to hot apps. Hot apps, you would either work saute or the grill, and then when you got real good, you go to backline.
Yes.
And backline was the station that changed constantly.
It did, except 2 dishes, crab cakes and rainbow trout with a crab meat vermouth cream.
Whatever they wanted it to be, yeah.
With those pepper curls.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it wasn't nowadays in 2000.
No, I thought those pepper curls were cool.
You know what? Bring that shit back now. People be like, look at that. That is some nice work. And it was. But it was. I thought it was a station I spent most of my time on.
It was your favorite station.
Oh, man, come on. I'd run circles around everybody.
Yeah, you did.
Just making people look dumb.
Okay, so what was really hard about this station is you had no tickets. No tickets in front of you. So everything you cooked, all of your all days, all of your fires, all your pickups were verbal. Yeah.
So, yeah, you'd have the expo sit and call in. You know, the grill guy got tickets. They could see the shit.
Well, the mediums and the...
My favorite. What's my all day? I just told you 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You didn't hear that? Like, it just kills me. Because, like, that station, backline, made you smart.
It makes you smart.
It wasn't the physical. It was the physical aspect, but it was also the mental aspect. It was the drive. It was everything.
And it was like as wide as the stage. It was like the biggest station ever.
Oh, it was a busy night. You'd be like, got your Nikes on? Because I'm going to run your ass. You got ran.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
It was great. I loved it.
Remember you worked the Creole station for a little bit?
I did. So that I had to work that first to prove my chops.
And it was the best because, like, you don't. So when you say 86 something, that means you're out of it, right? It's done.
All right. And the Creole station is Pontchartrain, the codfish,
shrimp Creole,
and shrimp chapois. Yes.
The shrimp chapois, though, you just put grits out.
Okay, stop.
Yeah, they literally put shrimp chapois. They cooked it in the dining room, so I don't even consider that to be like part of your station. You just made the grits, like, which is great. But everything else.
I'm just saying every table had multiple of those dishes on it.
100%.
It was the busiest station.
Yeah.
Ish.
Because it was repetition, right? You're searing every pecan fish. You're searing every paunch. You're doing everything. You know, all the sauce that goes into it, all the rice that goes into it, all the prep that goes into it. But you never ran out of anything on that station.
No one told me.
Ever. Like, that's the one station you just couldn't run out of anything. And it was shrimp boudin that was on the shrimp creole.
That was such a terrible thing to not tell y'all I was running low on. Because you can't just make shrimp boudin on the fly.
No.
I think y'all did.
It was done. It was already done. It was the best, though.
Yeah. So you want to tell them?
No, knock it out. It was like
you
it was
should tell 'em.
one of the best things I've ever seen.
You tell them.
Because you could stand as like the Sioux on the other side of the station and just watch shit happen. Right? You could watch somebody, like, you could see the movements, and that was the one thing that you always have. You have movements, right?
I like to dance.
You like to dance.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell every young cook is like, everything is about repetition and understanding your movements and understanding, like, don't have wasted movements.
Mm-hmm.
The cooks that go back and forth to the walk-in 22 times to pull, like, oh, I forgot 4 herbs. What the fuck are you doing, man? Like, write your shit down and follow the path. You write your own path of destiny and, like, execution and perfection down.
Yes.
And then you go to the cooler once.
Yes.
Maybe twice. But the chicken footing back and forth, come on, man. You know it ain't going to work out. Or they'll get it at some point. You had a good dance. You knew it.
Thank you. Except when it came to the boudin.
So we're doing 450, I think, that night, just getting pumped. And I'm watching it, and I can see it coming. Because I'm looking at, like, how much stuff they have on their station, what's their meats look like, where are they going to, run out of something. And I could see it in her eyes. She could not wait to run out of boudin.
I really couldn't.
Oh, it was like, 3 more, I can't wait. And then finally it was like a calf scramble.
You watched it behind the
hell
scenes.
yes, I watched it.
So you already knew it was going to happen?
100%.
Chris?
100%.
I had no idea.
It was like the sweet taste of victory.
It really was.
And she, like, it's very timely because the rodeo's going on, and they lasso, and then they sit up and go, boom! It was like, Sarah goes, boom! 86 shrimp creole. And I just looked at her like, get the fuck out of here. And it was just like, you were so excited about that one moment. And it was like, that ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
And then it was like, it's all right. What happens when you cook 86 something now without saying anything?
Oh, it's a sit down in the office.
Yeah, there's a conversation.
There's a conversation.
But they run out of meatballs.
That's like 10,000 emails and
there's a lot going on
a
with
lot
that
of conversations. It's because now we can't 80. There's certain dishes you can't 86.
No.
I think if it's a special, you can 86 it.
Yeah, it's fine. Specials done. When they're done, they're done.
Yeah.
Go.
But the classic dish, someone's been waiting to come in for months, right? You have this reservation.
That gnocchetti?
The gnocchetti con pesto, the gratin ham. And we run those fagioli, the little breads we make.
Yep.
You can run out of them, and it takes, like, if you don't catch it, you're 86 because it literally takes 3 hours. And so it's tough. And I always come down on the sous chefs because they need to be monitoring it just like you were.
Yeah.
They need to, like, you can't just, like, give all of the, you have to monitor it.
Because I used to go through everybody's stuff before service or before they got there to see what was going on.
I thought you were just, like, getting a snack.
Sometimes. My favorite is when we ran, like, the fish vernique.
With the grapes.
Yeah, because they had to
He
peel.
loved
They
that
had to
one.
peel the grapes.
The little champagne grapes.
Oh no! Before they used to have to peel them.
Oh.
They get the big grapes, have to peel them. My game was to eat the peeled grapes.
At Spiaggia, we had to peel grape tomatoes equally as painstaking.
And if your sous chef walks by and starts eating that shit, that's you're about to go outside. Those are words.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is like peel, 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 peel. Then someone's like, "How you doing? Good." But then we went to champagne grapes because it was way easier.
Yeah, easier.
Nice. It was delicious.
I also think now, I don't know if
I haven't seen champagne grapes in them.
I haven't seen them in a long time either, but I think now I've learned that some of those things, like so much cooking back then was like the knife cut and the this.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much it does for flavor 100%. So I think
pretty much
we've
zero.
Gotten out of that a little bit.
I'm happy for that too.
Yes.
I like the more rustic thought process.
Me
I mean, there's a definitely time and place for
to throw down.
Yeah. That's not my style. Like
you throw down in your own ways.
Yeah, but if you said, hey, let's go, you and I should cook a 10-course tasting of intricate things, I'd be like, that's boring. Let's start a fire and just cook shit on a fire.
Yes. I agree.
You also did one other thing that I think is a mistake by most cooks. You tried to clean a hand blender.
Oh, yes.
Without unplugging it.
I was in the weeds. I was in the super weeds. So the crab cakes on backline.
Still there too. They still.
This is the reason that all of my food is prep heavy and complicated.
I like how we get to the root of things here tonight.
So we had to make a crab oil. So we had to buy this whole box of crab bodies.
Jumbo crabs.
Which those weren't that good, were they?
I mean, when you blast them in oil and you basically make crab mayonnaise out of it, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
That's the only way to do it.
No, it was good. I just feel like you open them up, you just really didn't know what you were going to get in that box.
Yeah, but we didn't use the crabs.
No, I know.
It's just basically.
Anyways, maybe I have like a thing for it now. I'm a little angry at the crabs.
You should be.
No. Okay, so you would have to open up this like 40-pound box of crab shells and dump them into a giant roasting pan and cover them with a 35-gallon or a 35-pound oil, and then let them steep and let the crab meat or the crab flavor get into the oil, and then you had to cool that down, and you had to make aioli from scratch, and then you had to roast all the corn and all the peppers and hand chop it, and then mix it with the crab meat, and you would sell.
But then you also had to take the corn shucks, make the corn stock, make the corn sauce.
Oh, right, and the corn sauce. Yeah. This was my auntie's favorite dish.
It's delicious. It's a giant pain in the ass.
Loves this crab cake. And we would sell probably 60 a night.
Well, because
80 a night.
At that point, like crab cakes, you eat.
There was like breading in them. You could get the old school bread and crab cake or the new school.
The Maryland kind of, more like looky crab, and then like a lot of breadcrumb.
Yes.
Or this crab cake, which was.
I like both.
Which was 100% jumbo lump.
So I'm making the mayonnaise, and I'm in the super weeds, and so I made the mayonnaise, and then I'm using a hand blender, and there's a little hand sink, and I decided to run the hand blender under the water to clean it, and I wasn't thinking about it at the same time I put my hand under the stream of water, and I got 2 fingers caught, and I still have scars. I got 2 fingers caught in it, blood shot on the tile.
Yep.
And
2 of the best cooks I've ever known have both done that.
Well, you also.
Well, I've done other shit, but yeah.
Oh, your whole pig arm thing?
Yeah. Well, that was
a lot.
Yeah. But you and Lyle, Bento.
Oh, he did it too?
Yeah, he did. He did it, Billy.
So I went to the urgent care and got my stitches and went back and closed my station. Put a glove on.
Some people think you're crazy for that. I'll give you fist nubs for it.
I had to, because I had to prove myself. Like, it was already so embarrassing to do that. There was no way. And someone had to work the station for me that night, so then someone was coming onto my station that wasn't ready. Like, it was just like, oh. That's a lot. Did you work it?
I did not.
Oh.
I don't know if I did or not.
I don't know.
I might have.
Okay.
I stepped into a lot of people's stations.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, you're not doing this. I'm going to do this for you.
Yeah.
It's, they learned from that. I don't think it was a bad thing.
So it taught me a lot. And it actually, helps me a lot now when people do hurt themselves at the restaurant. It gives me a little more calm to help them through their injury.
Kitchen, there was, in the old kitchen, I'd close the oven door, and it was...
Oh, yeah, I remember that scar.
Yeah.
It's here, isn't it?
Yeah. And as I was doing it, I got wedged in between rack and the side of the oven door, so it just left this perfect tattoo. But yeah, I watched that's gross. I don't want to talk about it. There was something that went and then fell off, and I was like, "Can I get a towel?" And like just taped it up and just hot cold water in a towel and got back to work. Can't say we're smart. Look at this.
And you're losing your stuff.
That's because I fidget a lot.
So you know what? Now I make my cooks go to the ER or go to the urgent care.
No.
I don't care what it is. Like it depends. But if it's like a burn that I can tell, like I send them right away. And then they'll always say, "Chef, I want to work through it." And
nope, go.
No, you're gone. And then like 9 times out of 10 they come back and they go, "Thank you so much for caring about me." And I'm like, "Duh!" Like of course.
Yeah.
But there's so many people I think that they should just like push through, like how I wanted to push through.
Yeah.
But at a certain point you have to like, to make a change in that train of thought, like.
Yeah, you need to be smarter about that, like because there's the things in life that you don't get back. Those scars and things will always hold true.
Yeah, I have my first knife scar here on this finger. It was from a Ginsu knife.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all remember Ginsu?
I got one
knife?
too. I cut a frozen block of chocolate in my house.
Oh, mine was an old bagel, which I didn't understand why they got hard.
Yeah.
Those things.
And I think that bread knives and Ginsus are just probably some of the worst knives ever.
Oh, I mean the blade.
They give you the worst cuts.
Oh yeah.
Hands down.
Just all types of directions.
Yeah, what she was talking about a minute ago was I split my artery breaking down a pig.
Yeah, you did. It was very dangerous.
It was.
It was a semi life or death situation.
It was a quick ride to the hospital with the paramedics for sure. That was and then they just like, look, anyway. There's certain ERs you shouldn't go to, and I told them, don't take me to this one. And I got out of the ambulance. I was like, bro, what did we just have this conversation about? He's like, just shut up, man. Like, this is where they told me to go. It's be fine. We walked in, and the guy's like, I got 2 stab wounds and a gunshot. What are you doing here? And it was like, and I looked at him, I'm like, told you. And he goes, just stop it. And they put 3 stitches across that artery, across the wrist. And they're like, you got another one right here. Just don't cut that. And I was like, and I looked at him, I was like, sounds right. And then it never stopped bleeding. And I had a blood sausage of an arm. And then it was 5 hours. I called a friend of mine, sent him a photo, and he called immediately. He was like, what the are you doing? And I was like, hey, man, this is what happened. And he was like, you're going to call in 3 minutes. I got a call in 3 minutes, and I was in surgery the next day.
Wow.
And they put my artery back together.
I don't think I knew that part of that story.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you called that friend.
Yeah, me too. He's a good one. He saved my life twice now.
Who knew cooking could be so dangerous?
You know what is awesome, though? Is like when you cook, you meet really good doctors and lawyers and all the things in life that you need.
Yes, yes.
It's really amazing. So you worked through Brennan's, and I'll tell these folks that I think that I got to do a lot of wine dinners and wine tables and kitchen tables, and you were kind of you and I.
I was your protege.
You were.
Because then I went and did my wine, like my first certification in Napa.
Yeah, we both did that. Most cooks don't go through their first level of the quartermaster psalms. They're just out of sheer boredom and wanting to learn. It was fun. But then you could cook the food too. Yes.
Thank you.
And so we worked together a lot on those things.
It was great. It prepared me for lots.
And we'll kind of jump ahead a little bit, I guess. Because creativity in cooks is hard. And I hate to say it like this, but either you got or you don't. Right?
Yeah.
Either you're very creative and you're the wandering mind and kind of the pain in the ass and like, what planet are you on? But you're always forcing yourself to learn new things. And then there's people that will just stick to a regiment. And you were not a stick to the regiment person.
I think I am to a degree. I think I think I had one foot in the sandbox and one out.
I think you on people.
Okay. I love to create, but it comes from, I think, making mistakes, but also I think the kitchen table at Brennan's really nudged that.
Have you all been to the kitchen table at Brennan's? It's awesome, right? So you sit in the kitchen, and then and they still do it to this day. So if you haven't booked one, you should. But it's 7 courses.
Yes, and
At least it was. I don't know what it is now. I'll be honest with you.
It was every station had a different dish.
Yeah, and you were responsible for. It was for us like it was always when I first started. It was like these are the dishes here. Just create, just do, and then it became create, and then it became how far can we push it.
Yes.
And it was something that was generally totally never on a menu.
Well, I think that they tested us. So I think that the chefs would say, you can do stuff on the menu. You can do the shrimp creole or
do what you want.
The spinach. I mean, if you really wanted to dial in the spinach salad made tableside, which that cook was not going to make it far.
No,
they wanted
that's
that
just lame.
Here's
the Caesar salad, guys. Like, fuck, what are you doing, man? Like, people want an experience. I looked at that as dinner and a show.
They actually let line cooks create dishes for that table. Like me, like little 22, 23-year-old me, like create dishes.
Yep. Should have.
Yeah.
You got to learn.
I did. So now I think that's part. This is why you're my shepherd.
But I think that you've learned also that, like, those moments is where you learn confidence.
Correct, because you have to make a lot of 1 out of 100. You got to make a lot of bad dishes, and then you make a great dish. I would say, and you might have this too. In my career, I can kind of think about the dishes that I've created that are like my light bulb moments, where you're like, ooh, that's really good. Like I almost think like a musician might feel about.
A song?
Like a song like Rhiannon or something like, where you're like, damn, that song is great. Or like Stairway to Heaven or like, something like that where you're like, this is sheer amazing, came down from somewhere type stuff. And not that we're that, but I just mean like as a chef, as an example, it's a point where you go, that's one of the dishes that I'm so, and it's hard, I think, to create too. It's hard to really feel like you can create a dish, right?
I think it goes back to confidence, though.
But there's so much that's already done in cooking.
Yeah. But look, we're not recreating the wheel anywhere. Anything that's pretty much, I would say that there's probably a few chefs that are mastering the art of creations, right? And we all look at it and go, ooh, didn't see that coming. But for the most part, flavor profiles and textures are all been done in some form or facet. And it's just us manipulating that to what we think is delicious. And hopefully people think the same.
Yes. Well, now people are really cooking from all over the globe. And
100%. The access to ingredients and knowledge is amazing these days. And it's just showing respect and love.
Yeah.
And so at one point you decided and you moved to Chicago.
I did. Yikes. That was hard.
It was good.
It was hard. That was like all those corners I had turned had gone away, and it was like a new set of stairs that went up. It was tough. Yeah, so Chris and the chefs, they looked at me and they were like, you have real talent. You need to go cook somewhere else. Like, you need to.
The fuck out of here.
You told me to get out of there. You said, you got to go. And so, in a good way, of course, not like you actually have to go.
No, I'd have worked for you. I'd have worked. Well, I would have worked for you at some point, for sure. But
I remember being like, oh, I'll wait until you want to open something, and I really wanted that, and you were like, no, you're not gonna follow me around everywhere.
No, you gotta get out. And I do think when you see people that have that in them, they need to go.
Sure. So
Imagine if you would have stayed here.
No, my life would be totally different.
Yeah, definitely.
So there was this amazing friend, server, her name was Zan, and she worked at Women's, and she moved to Chicago she had an internship at a Second City, and she loved theater, and she wanted to be a comedian.
She was a thespian.
She was a thespian. See, it's a common thing here.
Nailed it.
And she moved to Chicago to pursue her career and on stage, and she said, just come up and sleep on my couch, it'll be great. And so I did that, and I flew up, and also Nazar, who was your wine assistant at the time.
Love Niz.
He's great, and his family has an amazing restaurant in Hyde Park, Chicago, making, I think it's
like Middle Eastern food.
Middle Eastern food. The great, anyway, so then Nazar called his brother, Rashad, and he said, she's coming.
Who was much crazier than Nazar.
Oh, yeah. So I crashed on Rashad's couch. I crashed on Dan's couch. And I don't think my mom knew I was sleeping on couches, so sorry, Mom. But
you know what? Everybody learns something new about when these shows happen, so it's great.
Yeah. So I was armed. Nazar had written me a whole list of restaurants that he loved in Chicago. He's like, these are the greatest restaurants. So I was armed with my little list and interviews, and True was one of the most iconic restaurants in Chicago, at the top of the list. And Rashad said, well, I'll go with you and eat. I know, well, it's doing good. It's doing good. I don't know if, you know the story, don't you?
Come on with it.
Do you know it?
Nope.
Are you sure?
100%.
Okay, so at the time, Wagstaff was the PR company for Brennan's.
Yep.
And a VEC had just opened in Chicago, and Wagstaff's offices were right above a VEC.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so all the Brennan people, and the reason I'm kind of telling this story is there's a lot of people at Brennan's that kind of ushered me to meet people in Chicago, who I needed to, could help me along the way. So I Zan had to go to work that day, and I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I was eating at True that night with Rashad. So I had my little my Banana Republic outfit. I had my little cardigan and top and little pants and some little kind of open-toed heel type shoes. And I was going to go interviewing, fill out applications at these restaurants. So I thought I'll just wear the same outfit that I'm going to interview. You know the story.
They don't.
So I am walking around, and Carl Walker calls me, the chef.
Brennan's.
At Brennan's.
Yeah.
And he said, Sarah, I have you an interview at True. Go there. You need to be there at 1 p.m. They're ready for you. And I was hyperventilating, oh, my God, this is my chance. I'm going to go and stage at True. But I was going to eat there that night. So I was dressed, and I was meeting the gal from Wagstaff for drinks that afternoon. So I was I had this whole kind of plan. So I was ooh, I don't know if I can interview, but I don't know what's going to happen. So I knock on this big, it was it's in the medical center in Chicago, big, tall skyscrapers I had never really seen before. And so I'm knocking on the door, and the chef opens the door, and he's like, hey, hi, I'm Sarah, right, from Brennan's in Houston. I want to interview with you. And he was like, cool. And I was like, great, here we go again. And so
I feel like this happened before.
Maybe it did. Now that I'm putting it together. And he's like, so, yeah, you're going to here to stage, right? And I was like, stage? No, I think I'm here for my chef, Carl, called. And I have an interview. For a line cook? Who was I thinking? But this is what I thought,
that's how it works.
What's going to happen. And he said, okay. And so he took me upstairs, and there's this closet door. And he opens up the closet door. And my worst nightmare, it was full of chef coats. And he said, what size are you? And I was like,
Here we go.
Sorry, I thought I was interviewing. See, I'm going to have dinner here, and I have this meeting with this PR person. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
What a disaster.
And I could just think that guy what size are you?
What size are
get
you?
their ass to work. Let's go.
So then I was there in this lump in my chest, my throat, and I thought, okay, do I stage in Banana Republic heels, pants, and a cardigan? Or do I, he goes, well, you can reschedule. And I was like, I can't reschedule.
No. No.
So I said, I'll take the coat. I put the coat on and went in the kitchen in my Banana Republic heels, pants, and shirt, and staged at True in heels. Texas girl. Yeah.
That's it. You know what? That's
insane.
But you know what? That's exactly who I know you to be.
Yeah.
It's put it in front of you, going for it.
Well, luckily, I said, I still have to go eat here tonight. So they let me leave. They let me leave at I staged, and it was not the best, but it was good. I tried really hard. I got my mandolin out, and a cook still to this day taught me how to cut parsley, and I still like parsley cut that way. Jamie always makes fun of it. It's cut the cool way. So you take the leaves and do a little fine julienne.
I mean, it's fine.
It's the best way to cut parsley.
It is.
But they call it the cool way.
It's not just rough chopping.
But the chef came back, or he said, I said, I'm eating here tonight. I'm really excited. And he said, well, if you want to come back tomorrow, you can. And I said, great, I'll be here. So then I went to Marshall's. I bought shoes. I bought pants. And I showed up and really staged. And then I got invited to go have pizza with them, all the cooks after.
That's a huge accomplishment.
I was like, okay, I'm making it here.
Because traditionally they're like.
Yes. But then the next day it was my flight back home to Sugar Land. And so I had Missy Robbins from Spiaggia. Carl had called there too. And she said, hey, your chef left a message. I'd love to meet you. And I said, well, I'm leaving today and I don't have clothes to stage. I wanted to make sure she knew right away.
We're not doing this.
She said, no problem. Just come for an interview. So then I went to Spiaggia, had an interview, and I was like, holy crap, this is where I want to work. And flew back home, flew back up and did a 2-day stage. Got offered the job as a line cook. Called my mom, said, Mom, I'm moving to Chicago. She cried, and I think I cried too. And then she flew up the next day, and we went through, this was old school times. This was without the newspaper, circle the buildings, rented an apartment.
She mommed the shit out of you.
It was great. It was great.
Good job, Trish.
And then what was so eerie to me is that the weekend that I moved to Chicago is the weekend that Katrina hit New Orleans. Mm. And so for me to leave Brennan's at that time and to give a spot to a chef that needed it couldn't have been better timing, I think, for that person. So it was really...
That was a tough time.
Really tough time.
That was a tough time to be at a restaurant that has a sister restaurant in New Orleans.
Yes. So it was almost kind of weird that I left and then that happened.
In roundabout, it goes back to now, especially... I saw it firsthand back then, and we say it now all the time at Southern Smoke, get prepared, right? Understand where your last paycheck, have that stub, have that so if something happens, cooks, restaurant people, whatever, have access to that.
Absolutely.
Because so many people would just show up and be like, I think I'm supposed to pick up my last paycheck from Commanders here. And it's like, well, you lost everything to come here. It was emotional. That was a tough time to see people's heartbreak and loss.
Yes.
It was really... Anyway. It's almost that time of year. Prepare yourself, all right? Know where your shit's at. Anyway. But...
That's true. And then Spiaggia was really hard. So then it was super high-end fine dining, Italian, Brennan's. We would make all those sauces and 20 ingredients and layer upon layer upon layer of flavor. And then in Italian food, and especially at Spiaggia, which was high-end Italian, we would literally, a dish was butter poaching langoustines with green beans, cracked coriander, and olive oil. That was it.
You can't fake it.
You can't mess up the langoustine. I'd never cleaned a langoustine before. That was how different it changed, because there was such less room for error in the execution of the dishes that I really struggled at the beginning, for the first 3 months. But my bright shining star was I met Jamie there, and I don't know where he is, but he's in here somewhere.
We love Jamie.
And I think he's right there. Actually, yeah, I can see there he is.
Hi, buddy.
He cooked upstairs in the private dining. And I had my eye on him, and I was like, he's cute.
He still is, too.
He's very cute, but I called him Angry Chef because he was kind of angry all the time.
Jamie.
He would always come down, too busy.
There's always those
things started to click at Spiaggia. I think about the first 9 months, then him and I started to date, I think, after the first year. I met two people very close to my growth and my good friends, Rob and Meg, that ended up opening Monteverde with me. So it's like very much right place at the right time. If I would not have gone to Chicago, if I would not have staged in heels at True and realized maybe it wasn't the nice kitchen, but they were really nice, but they weren't that nice. But that wasn't like
it was what it was.
It wasn't all those. Maybe if I wouldn't have been in heels that first stage, maybe I would have stayed there. I wonder what that would have given me. But Spiaggia and meeting the people I met and working under Tony and Missy was something that I could never replace. So it was like I found like my Chris Shepherd there.
How long? Because you were chef at Spiaggia.
Yeah, I worked there for 8 years total. It's a long time.
That's amazing. Because I came up and spent a couple of days with the pasta ladies.
That's right.
And I'll still be honest, I don't know how to make pasta. That shit just, they were like, what? It's like this. And I was like, and they're like, nope, do it again. And I noticed that every one of those gnocchi that I made, they went back and remade.
I think so.
No, there's no think. I watched it happen. They weren't shy about it. They were so sweet, but they knew I was wasting their time.
No.
Which is very true to why I don't do Italian food, quite frankly.
Italian food's hard.
It's the most difficult thing I've ever seen in my life, and I just can't do it. I don't ever want to do it. Thank God you're doing it.
Good. You don't have to do it.
I don't. And it makes me so happy.
You.
Oh, it's so good. But so let's take 10 minutes, yeah?
Great.
You good with 10 minutes? Because now we're going to get into the Monteverde roll.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I will say this, I think it's the best Italian restaurant in the country.
Thank you. It's pretty good. Thank you.
Fuck off. It is.
Now I'm going to really cry.
It's the best Italian food in the country. It's the most heartfelt. You feel it when you. So, and as a consumer and as a guest, right? I think this is what you have to look for when you're spending your dollar when you go out to dine, right? And it's a feeling of place. It's not. No offense to this by any means, but it's actually a really great compliment. It's not just about the food. It's not just about the service. It's not just about the bar. It's not just about the wine list. It's not just about everything. It's all of it combined. There's an aura. There's a sense of place when you walk into a restaurant, right? And not all restaurants can do this. You can't fake that shit, right? It comes from the people that are running it. It comes from the heart. It comes from the soul. And Monteverde encompasses every ounce of that. When you walk in, you know where you're at.
Thank you.
Am I right, though? When you walk in there, you're like, oh.
It smells so good.
It feels good.
So when I do an event and come in, because I'm always in the kitchen, so I never smell it, but if we do like an event and then I walk in the front door, I'm blown away by the way I feel when I walk in that front door. It makes me so proud.
Well,
and the smell and the people. Even when we walk in for lunch now, I'm like, I can't believe this is my restaurant.
Well, it's what you and Jamie and the team have done is very special in this world.
Thank you.
And I'll be honest, I've always wished that you guys would do that here.
I know.
We talked about it too many damn times. But I'm glad you don't. Because a lot of times that is not recreatable. And what you have in Chicago is perfect.
Thank you.
And
that's why I'm terrified for the second restaurant.
Are we talking about that?
Well, I just mean for the next thing, like.
Oh, okay. When it does happen.
Yeah.
I didn't say shit. Jamie, let's be honest. All right, so let's take 10 minutes. Get yourself a teeny.
Yes, get a teeny. Because
we need another teeny. We need another one of these little whiskeys on the rocks. Little Elijah Craig. Get you some snacks. Kick back. We'll see you in 10. Cool? All right.
Mr. Rogers, this is so like.
I'm not changing my shoes. I'm keeping my damn slippers on.